So this morning I talked about some of this, but in this video we're going to fact check Russian claims based on what they said in their media and then what we actually know about the hospital strike. And then we're going to look at what NATO might do about this. And then we'll turn our attention to a little about US politics because there's some really intriguing stories today. These are the three big stories. And if you're not familiar with me, I do this every day. I do a daily brief in the morning and then I do three big stories in the evening. And if you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. Okay, we'll start here with the Kyiv Human Rights Protection Group. Russia boasts of strike objectives achieved. As death toll rises from missile strikes on Ukraine's main children's hospital and other civilian targets. So either they have great missiles that are really pinpoint, like they can hit their targets, or it was an errant missile, or it was shot down and, hit from Ukrainian and went off target, or it was a false flag and Ukraine really did it, or what? Okay. So they had some really outrageous claims here. Russia's missile attacks on the children's hospital and numerous other civilian sites in Kyiv and other cities on July 8th are so far known to have killed 38 civilians, including 4 children, injured 190 others. How many people are trapped under the rubble? We don't actually know. There's something like 5 to 6 tons of rubble that's being removed even now. The official Russian Defense Ministry line appeared early in the day and remains unchanged. Its mass strikes on 8 July were purportedly aimed at and hit military targets. The objectives of the strike were achieved. The military hit all intended targets. So was an intended target a civilian children's hospital? Is that really what you're saying? The statements by representatives of the Kyiv regime about deliberate strikes on civilian targets are not true. They always say that, though, and yet you have international reporters fact-checking this even now. I always want to be a fact-checker. It's kind of cool to be able to do that. These are not mere statements from the so-called Kyiv regime, but reports on all international media whose representatives are now largely present in Kyiv and were able to see exactly which targets Russia hit. This new war crime comes almost exactly 10 years after a Russian Buk missile transported from a military site in Russia downed Malaysian airliner MH17 over occupied Donbass, killing 298 passengers and crew, including 80 children. But the international community did nothing, and if they continue to do nothing, then more of this will continue. Okay. Detector Media has probed pro-Kremlin Telegram channels and even found the bizarre claim that this was, quote, an attempt to torpedo Viktor Orban's peace mission. How about that? That's quite a claim. While the official Moscow line is that nothing bad happened and Russia only hit the planned military targets, bloggers and those running anonymous Telegram channels are coming out with other claims. The kind of default assertion is that the hospital was hit by debris from Ukraine air defense missile. However, the vaguer provocation claims are also bandied about. So too is the quite surreal charge that it is Kyiv that somehow manufactures Russian attacks and then resulting tragedies for the eve of Tuesday's NATO summit. Wow, that's quite a claim that they could somehow make this happen so that it could influence the NATO summit. It will, I hope, influence the NATO summit, but not because Kyiv caused it. Russia's state-controlled media largely fell silent after reporting the official defense ministry lies. However, RIA Novosti did use a standard ploy and repeat all the above assertions, attributing them to a blogger from the USA, and any such Western blogger or journalist is invariably pro-Kremlin and typically repeats propaganda circulated by state-controlled media or Z pro-war bloggers and other social media, like Jackson Hinkle, who is no exception with all the lies that are repeated. Detector Media also found some propagandists who were prepared to openly gloat. Now, they're openly gloating while the world is condemning this, and it's quite a juxtaposition, really. Russia's barbaric strikes on the Transfiguration Cathedral and 25 other places of huge historical and cultural significance in Odessa in July 2023. Chief Russian propagandist Vladimir Solyov and his talk show guests were effectively all in favor of that strike. Nor is Solyov the exception, with Russia's key propagandists having been vocal for many months, shouting on state television that Moscow should bomb or even nuke Ukrainian cities. So what's going to happen with NATO now? So there's NATO draft communique describes Ukraine's path to NATO as irreversible, sources are saying. Now, they were talking about a bridge to membership, and that was Germany and the US that was behind that. But if they come out with irreversible and add more to this on the backside of the hospital attack, that'll be a much more positive step. Ukraine's path to joining NATO was described as irreversible in the draft text of the alliance joint communique. We don't know. It might change between now and then, but okay. It was the US and German officials that proposed describing a bridge to NATO membership rather than an irreversible path. That's absolutely terrible. Officials have also stressed the importance of tangible measures, especially now on the other side of the hospital attack. We're not talking about some sort of plan for how they're going to get from here to there. We're talking about standing up, listen to this, an entire command at West Baden, and we will look at we will do this various pieces that I mentioned earlier: training, coordinating, equipping, coordination, logistics, force development. This is a very serious effort to get Ukraine in position, as I said earlier, where it will be ready to assume its roles and responsibilities within the alliance on day one. Okay, so that's a tangible step forward, and I think more will come. I understand that there's going to be maybe some extra air defense that will come along and that sort of thing. Now, how they've been supporting, you can do minimal, moderate, and maximum for both military support and for sanctions. And what we've done is minimal to moderate, and when you do minimal, you're going to get an outright Russian victory. If you do minimal and moderate, you have that as long as it takes language here. If you do moderate, but you really need to give them a lot more support than what you've done before, because otherwise you're stuck here with these limited Russian gains, and that's what's been happening. It's a pretty simple way of looking at it, but I think it's somewhat fair. Le Monde newspaper said it is expected to announce the transfer of several more Patriot systems to Ukraine at the upcoming NATO summit, so that might be part of the backlash to what has happened at the Children's Hospital. Okay, turning our attention to news in the United States. This is David Axelrod. He was Barack Obama's campaign advisor, and he predicts that Biden's going to lose in a landslide. And he was beside himself after I was watching him on either CNN or MSNBC, I don't remember which, after the presidential debate. Now, this comes from a publication called Hot Air, which is a right-wing rag. So I'm only going to read, other than his quotes, the first two lines. Okay, these first two lines here, and then everything else will be Axelrod, so you're just seeing his words. Obama advisor David Axelrod made a brutally honest observation on Sunday. Axelrod said it's more likely Biden will lose by a landslide than eke out a victory. Yikes. It's what many Republicans think, but Democrats think that they can run anyone against Trump and win. Okay, so now here are just Axelrod's words. Okay, he's not winning this race, said Axelrod, who's credited as one of the key masterminds behind Obama's 2 presidential victories. If you just look at the data and talk to people around the country, political people around the country, it's more likely that he'll lose by a landslide than win narrowly in this race, Axelrod said of Biden. If the stakes are as large as Biden says, and I believe that they are, then he really needs to consider what the right thing to do here is. And what he means by that is to drop out of the race and make room for someone else so that, you know, the population that's voting can feel confident in who they're voting for. Okay, so with that, I also want to look at the Republican side. The RNC Platform just came out. This is one of the people working on a platform, and she said they didn't allow any amendments, they didn't allow any discussion, they just rolled us. So I looked at the platform. So I looked at it for like how it affects Ukraine, and there are 3 places where I saw something that was. They're very small pieces, but okay. This was page 4, prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe, and it goes on in the Middle East and blah, blah, blah. But how they want to restore peace in Europe and how they want to prevent World War III is, I think, the wrong way of going about that. About, you know, we're just going to have peace rather than actually arming Ukraine as they need. Second one is this, restore peace through strength. This is page 7. War breeds inflation, while geopolitical stability brings price stability. Republicans will end the global chaos and restore peace through strength, reducing global geopolitical risks and lowering commodity prices. But how are you going to do that? You don't do this by appeasing a dictator who keeps asking for more and more or taking more and more because he's being appeased. It's not working for Biden, and it certainly won't work for Republicans. Okay, last one of these. Republicans will strengthen alliances by ensuring that our allies must meet their obligations to invest in our common defense and by restoring peace in Europe. I'm just thinking, like, how, okay, I get the talking point, but that is, how is that strengthening? Okay. Anyway, the Republican platform didn't shift radically. It didn't say anything that I was fearing, like, we support Russia, not Ukraine, but what they hint at doesn't look like it's helping. So that's where we are with that. And with that, this article in ABC News, the Republican National Committee's platform committee adopted a new platform on Monday, and you see a shift in the party's stance to more closely align with the views of former President Donald Trump. This is the problem that I have as a Republican, is that, like, my principles are here and Trump is over here. Like, I'm a free marketeer and free trade is a good thing. I don't want protectionism. I want free trade. But the party shifted to Trump rather than Trump shifting to the party's principles in a number of regards, and that becomes problematic. At any rate, the party's convention takes place next week in Milwaukee, so that's what we'll be looking at then. Okay, leave you with this last little meme. Boy, did I call it or what? George Orwell, author of 1984. Okay, my friends, thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.